Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renae Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to the Space Between Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about one side of a band, and people don't often think of a band in this way. We talk about music, we talk about the people that are on stage, but do we talk about the people that are watching? Not a lot of people think about the fan point of view, and that's exactly what we talk about here on the Space Between Podcast. We talk about the fans of a band that is celebrating 35 years this year, and if this is your first time to listen to the Space Between Podcast, it is all about Dave Matthews Band. So we are in a really fun week. You are hearing this, if you are listening to it the day it comes out, you're listening to this on Thursday, which is the day before what everyone wants to say is the tour opener of 2026, like the summer tour opener, but I'm going to argue with that a little bit just right off the bat and say, no. It was on the t-shirt. It made the t-shirt. Memphis, Tennessee was the first of the summer tour for 2026. And yay, I just got to be there. I was actually there yesterday. And I'm so happy. I'm going to say this because this is the Space Between Podcast. They played the Space Between, and I was so happy. And I met Rodrigo and I met Rob before the concert started, and I gave them a sticker. And I remember, even if this isn't true, I'm just telling you what I remember. Rodrigo looked at the sticker, like awkwardly, I thought, but maybe not. Hey, Rodrigo, if you're listening to this, it was just like, I don't know. It caught me that you looked at the sticker, then you put it in your pocket. I just wonder, was there like a moment where somebody said like, hey, the Space Between Podcast is here? Probably not. But I'd like to think, hey, maybe, but yay, we started out the tour with the Space Between, and I'm so excited about that. This episode, we are not going to talk all about the summer tour, but we are going to talk about it a little just because it's the time of season. So I have a guest on the show. We're going to talk a little bit about 2026, and then what we're going to do is, like we do every episode, we're going to talk about his why. Why, how did you find this band, and why are you still listening to them? A band that's 35 years old. Why in the world are you still listening to them? I've told my story. Now it's time for everyone else to tell their story. And I need every fan to come forward and say, hey, I'd love to share with you my why. Whether you've been listening for 2 years, 2 months, 2 days, why is it that you chose to listen to this music? There's never a bad time to find this band. So I'm going to let my guest introduce himself today. Tell us who you are, where in the world are you, and tell us something about you other than the fact that I know you're going to say you love Dave Matthews Band.
Hey, Renae. My name's Eric Schneller. I live in Florida. Currently, we're relatively new residents to Florida. Used to live in Indianapolis, home of Deer Creek. And let's see, interesting thing, I have a Frenchie bulldog that I love more than just about anything. I've got a grandson and a granddaughter now. I'm a new grandparent. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. Loving life. So.
Yes, it sounds amazing. And I'm a dog person myself. Frenchies are so cute. So cute. I have little Yorkies, so I understand your passion. Like, they are part of the family, right? But let's talk a little bit before we get into you. Let's talk about 2026, because of course, if you are on social media right now and your algorithm flows to anything Dave Matthews Band related, which mine is pretty much 99% Dave Matthews Band fans. I don't know what your feed looks like, but it's a lot of Dave Matthews Band.
A lot of Dave.
So this is an exciting week. Is there anything in 2026, any thoughts that you have about this special year? Because, of course, the band is celebrating 35 years. We are celebrating 35 years. Is there any thoughts on what this tour might look like?
Not quite yet. So since I'm new to Florida, I'm just still kind of getting my feet, my legs under me about where I'm supposed to go and where am I going to go see shows. So
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
we've been before to West Palm and Tampa, but that's been a few years ago,
Yeah.
and so I'm not sure. I'm used to going to Deer Creek, so and
You're a little
sometimes
further
it's
now.
yeah, I'm a little further now, so I still have to get that all figured out for me. And traveling
Yes.
is, we've had a lot going on here, so I don't have any fixed plans yet, but
I like to remind fans that just because a new tour is starting does not mean that we're going to travel, right? Like, because ideally we
mhm,
all would be, right? But life is
right,
still going. It doesn't stop because of Dave Matthews Band.
yeah,
We have beautiful things like Couch Tour. Thank God for that. Is that
yep,
something that you tune into being at
absolutely,
home?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Couch Tour and then Sirius Radio, their
Yes.
Friday night, concerts, and yeah, Sirius has been such a blessing to all of us, I'm sure, and I remember when the first Dave Matthews Channel started, and then it went away after a few months, after like 3 or
Right.
4 or 6 months, and I was panicked because I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, I've gotten so totally used and reliant on this radio station." And then it went away. And I don't remember how long it was gone for, probably 6 months or something. And then they announced it was coming back. And I was like, oh, thank God. Like,
Yes.
I've never been happier about a radio station in my life. So it's
Yes.
been a major lifesaver. I've done tons of road trips, and we used to drive around the country in our RV and stuff. And yeah, so I've listened to Dave so much on Sirius, and it's been a joy.
We are a really lucky fan group. I don't
Yeah.
know the depths of other bands' fan groups. I don't know a lot
Right.
about other bands' deep down fan groups. But one thing that Dave Matthews Band fans have, well, we have so much going for us, just how much the fans do for the fans, right? To be able
Hmm.
to access the music because most of us aren't able to be at every show, but we want to know kind of what's going on. Was there anything cool that happened in West Palm Beach? Was there a song that had been liberated after 20 years? And things like the Couch Tour, things like XM, they're all great tools for us to get to feel like we're looped in. But also, if we're home on a Friday and we had a bad day, how nice would it be to just to sit in the backyard, turn
Yeah.
on the radio, close our eyes, and hey, man, we are at a live show. And I am, a big
Yeah.
fan of SiriusXM. Love them. Love the new host. I love that another DMB
Hmm.
podcast got the reins and that the fans, the fans are incredible, right? Like, this is
Yeah.
what this whole
The
show is
best.
about, is like how
The best.
dedicated our fans are to this music that we love so much and all the work that we put into it, like the DMB Almanac. The things that they do just to keep statistics clear. So many
Isn't
amazing
that
fans.
amazing, by
So
the way?
it's
Whoever does
wild.
the almanac should get a Nobel Peace Prize or something, because
They're amazing.
the amount of work that has to go into that is incredible.
It
Yeah.
is.
And I just eat that stuff up with a spoon, wondering, which songs have been liberated and how many times have they
Mhm.
been played and when's the last time they've been played. I just think that's fascinating, and I love knowing just useless little bits of trivia like that. Is
Absolutely.
kind of fun. Yeah. But yeah, my big thing. Yeah. Well, so you were mentioning the 35-year anniversary, and of course, um, I've got my. If you don't mind, I'll tell you how I first got into Dave
Yes,
back
please.
long ago. So I it was mid '90s, early mid '90s, and I had a friend who lived in Baltimore, and she had gotten a bootleg tape of one of the shows on a tape, just a little
Hell yeah.
tape,
Yeah.
nothing big, cassette tape, and sent it to me. And I was like, I really like this. This is really good. Like, who are they and how do I get more? And I went and bought the studio album and started listening more and more. And I think she sent me about 3 or 4 other tapes that she'd gotten from people that had recorded them themselves,
Mhm.
at the shows like they would let people do. And I was just, kind of immediately infatuated and loved the depth of the music and how many instruments. And um, I thought I like Dave's voice. To me, it's a whole nother instrument in the band. It's
Yes.
its own
Yes.
it's its own animal, and it's not always perfect. He his
Right.
voice cracks and he's, but there's something about it that was just absolutely appealing to me. And um, so I got very much into the band then, back, early middle 90s.
Mhm.
Um, I was at that point, I was really uh, more of a studio album guy, right? So I was like,
Yeah.
I haven't gone to any shows yet. I was just infatuated with the music, and I liked the studio stuff. And the concerts would sometimes get away from me a little bit. I'd be like, some of these, they play these 17-minute versions of these songs, and it was like, jazz rock and roll. And I was like, what, this is crazy. This is like the Grateful Dead. Like, just
Yes.
give me a studio album. But slowly but surely, at first I got into Dave and Tim and their albums.
Yes.
Um, and I was just over the moon. Those became my Desert Island albums. Those are the, Luther College and stuff. That was my CD that I listened to more than anything else, I think.
Mhm.
And that became then a bridge to really liking the concerts more than the studio albums. I'd say I
Wow.
probably only lasted a year or two preferring the studio albums. And then once I got into the concerts and realized how many, versions of different songs there were, and where they were, taped from, and all that, it just became a whole nother animal. And now I can't tell you the last time I listened to a studio song of theirs. All I listen to is concerts. And all my favorite playlists for Dave or Dave and Tim, they're all live concerts. I don't have any studio stuff on it because I think it loses the whole flavor of the band. And to me, the band is what just, I think, is incredible. I mean, there's no other band like it. There's bands like Little Feat and stuff like that have a lot of instrumentation going, and they're great. But there's just something about Dave and his voice and the other instruments and the other members of the band that I just absolutely love. And I love that there's so many versions of the songs, and they don't care about playing them the same way every time. So, it fascinates me the people who can, you tell them your favorite song and they'll be like, "Oh, you remember the one from Red Rocks in 1998?" I'm like, "No, I'm not good about that, but I can't remember where I heard it, but I know there's really good versions and really good CDs and stuff." So that's
Well,
where I've landed now, as just a total concert fan and live music. And even when I met you at the tribute band, and
yes.
hearing Dave music live is just the best. And the people are always the best, and the atmosphere it's so great. And I've become a big proponent of it to my friends and family, and I've got a few converts under my belt about trying to get people to listen to Dave, and that always feels good, trying to expose people to new stuff and say, like, hey, I'll send them different versions of songs um, that I think they will like, and
Mhm.
usually I'm pretty right. And it's just it, it's a passion that has lasted for 30 some years now, and d- don't know where I'd be without them.
Right.
It holds up.
It
Musically,
does.
it's phenomenal. The band members are practically virtuosities at each
Yes.
of their instruments. And Carter, Carter's my favorite. Just the smile he's always got on his face, and the
Mhm.
blowing the bubbles, just
Yes.
driving the band. I mean, there's just, he's phenomenal. Everyone's great. And
Everyone.
um, I just love him so much.
It's been interesting as a fan to watch their evolution, if you will. The way that they started out was so humbly, right? And
Yeah.
watching it grow and progress, and people leaving and new people coming in.
Hmm.
It's been so much fun to watch. And I feel like each stage, if you will, of the band was amazing and so necessary for what is now Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah.
And that's something that, like, I was 11 when Dave Matthews Band started in 1981. So obviously I was many years away from going to a show
Uh-huh.
and things like that. And so and a lot of other fans never got to be and never will get to be in a room hearing those initial sounds like what you heard in the mid
Yeah.
90s. That sound can no longer be done just because of things like growth in voices and maturity, like
Yeah.
all of those things, because they were so young and so good, so amazingly
Yeah.
good. I mean, that's why
Yeah.
they caught on like wildfire, but they were so very different than they are now. And so that's why while I'm so thankful, and how I met you was through the tribute bands that are out. And
Right.
I work with, of course, the DMTB, which is Dave Matthews Tribute Band.
Hmm.
And I know you brought your daughter with you to the
Yeah.
show. That's right.
Yeah.
We met
That was
up. We
that
got to
was
talk.
that was her first Dave show of any kind. Yes,
Isn't
and
that cool?
it was, and she actually loved it, as she said.
Yeah, would she say no?
Would she say
Dad, that was
otherwise? I
terrible.
don't know, but
I
yeah.
don't know.
Um, but yeah, she said it was a lot better than I thought it would be. Because the people that don't listen to Dave a lot, they've heard Satellite and
Hmm.
Crash, maybe. Like they just haven't heard that much, and they heard studio versions of those songs.
Right.
And listening to Dave in concert live is a totally different experience.
It really is.
It's not even. That's why I don't listen to their studio albums anymore, because that's not who Dave is to me. It's not who the band is. And
That's not who you'll hear. Yeah.
yeah, and to watch their interplay up on stage as they're looking at each other and giving each other cues and smiling, and Dave's dancing, and you know all the stuff that goes on is just so pleasurable to watch
Yes.
them play. And even the changes in some of the band's lineup, Boyd being gone and such. um it just kind of adds another flavor to the band, if you ask me. There's you don't hear the violin much anymore in
Right.
Dave shows. I mean,
Right.
but when you listen to some of the old concerts, you do, and
Yeah.
it makes the song sound different, and
It does.
it gives them all new life again. Like I love everything about it. There's
Right.
not a version. There's never a version that I don't like, but there might be a version or two that I particularly love.
Sure.
And that's because usually there's something that's new, that's to the
Hmm.
sound. So I just like that they keep reinventing themselves. They don't get
Yes.
slowed down by the fact that there's been some band changes and maybe emphasis on certain songs, and whether it's keyboards versus violin or whatever. But um the constants that have been there, Dave and his voice and dancing and his guitar, and all the guys. It's great. Just love it.
It is.
And
It
I
is.
have I have a interesting little story. Like you'd asked to um, if I had a particular Dave story, and if you don't mind, I'll
Yes.
tell it to you.
That's what we're
Um,
here for.
all right, cool. So this was in the late '90s, like '98, '99. Um, I was a single dad to two daughters. I'd had them by myself in Indianapolis for about a year. Was feeling very stressed out. It's hard being a
Hmm.
girl dad, and they were young. They were young. They were 4 and 6, 5 and 7, something like that. And so we had a trip planned to go to New York, upstate New York, to see my family. And then I was going to leave them, my daughters, with my mom, and for just a couple days, and I was going to go to Burlington, Vermont, to see an old friend up there. The one who sent me the Dave music, by
Oh,
the way, back
even better.
5, 6 years before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we go to Syracuse. I'm at my mom's house. I'm leaving first thing in the morning, and I'm dying to get out, right? Like I need a break.
Hmm. Right.
Am maxed up, overdone. Syracuse got its only tornado that it's ever gotten in like 80 years that night. We're in the
What?
basement. We're huddled, whatever. A tree gets blown, big tree gets blown down in our driveway. And it was a long kind of country driveway, absolutely impassable, no way to get around it. So I have to get a chainsaw. It's not my house. I have to get this ratty, rusty old chainsaw out and pour gas into it. And it's still pouring down rain outside. I'm trying to work at cutting this tree off so I can get out of town. 4 or 5 hours later, I get the tree cut. I've got sawdust all over me. I've poured gas on me, spilled out of the thing. The chainsaw breaks every 30 seconds. The chain would come off. I'd
Oh
have to
man.
put the chain back on. I am apoplectic with needing to get out of town, right?
Yes.
So I finally get out much later in the after, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was supposed to leave at like 8 in the morning, and it's still like a 5 hour drive. So I'm driving. I finally get on the road. I am miserable. I'm unhappy that it took me so long. I'm soaking wet. I smell like gas. I'm looking at all the tornado damage on the roads as I go. The drivers are pissing me off. Everyone's doing stupid stuff, and I'm just I'm feeling myself get tighter and tighter and tighter. So I've driven like 2 hours to Albany, and now I'm going straight up through the country roads. That's where the one lane each way country roads start
Oh
kicking
yeah.
in. Well, people are in my way, and they are not going as fast as I want to go. Blah blah blah. It's still pouring down rain. It's a miserable day. I can't wait, and I sit there and I realize I'm literally about to give myself a heart attack, probably because I'm so upset and I'm so torqued up. So I'm probably 2 hours away from Vermont still on this beautiful country road, and put in a CD that's a a wedding CD from a different friend. Went to her wedding a little while ago, and they made CDs for the wedding. It was really cool. Well,
That
there
is
was a
cool.
classical song on there that came on that I really loved, and it was very calming. And I was kind of getting into the drive, and I was like, okay, this is really pretty. This is really nice. And I was forcing myself to relax, having a little not religious moment, but kind of a thanks to God for making this beautiful ride. Um, and I take that CD out, and I put my iPod on, and on comes Two Step. And this the most if you've never driven the country roads, little one lane up and down, beautiful pastoral, green everywhere, trees everywhere. Two Step is the soundtrack for that drive. And it's a 17-minute song, like you can go, and I'm Two Step comes on, and it just hits me like a ton of bricks. And I'm like, this is the perfect song for the perfect moment at that moment. And I'm not kidding about it being that moment. Within the first 15 seconds of that song coming on, the rain stops, the clouds open up, and these really distinct rays of light come pouring through the clouds. You know how you see the single rays of light coming down?
Yes.
Hits my car. The ray hits my car as I'm driving. I
What?
burst into tears. Like I
My
lose
God.
it. I'm like, this is me
Like
saying thanks
it
to
felt
God
real.
for it being so
Yes,
pretty.
it felt
It
like a
was him
religious
reaching
experience.
down.
Like what
Yeah.
is? Yeah.
It was him reaching down saying, thank you for noticing. Thank you for paying attention.
Oh yeah.
And it was absolutely Two Step that did it. And it was it was a perfect moment, and I'll remember it forever.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
love that.
So that's my Vermont. And I was calm from then on, and my anxiety went away, my tension went away. I was able to enjoy my time up there and relax and get back to it. And
Wow.
it was a beautiful, beautiful moment.
You know,
Remembered forever.
I love stories like that because it shows yet again that music is so much more than just sound, right? We can literally have some kind of
Absolutely.
reaction, a physical reaction to the way that like we're perceiving it and we're receiving it, and it calmed you down. I mean, there was a combination of things that happened in that
Hmm.
moment, but what started it all was just the
Yeah.
music, you know?
Well, yeah, and being receptive to the moment.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah, and it was just being present in the moment. And when people ask me what is it I like about D&B music, it's my phrasing is that it's melancholy with a dose of hope, a dose
Mm.
of optimism behind it. And I think the songs that matter the most to me and the songs that hit me the most in my soul are the ones that have some sadness behind them. But Dave being Dave, I think his optimism, his hope comes through, and even his sad lyrics, and from Gray Street to all sorts of things. But just kind of, I don't know. It just there's a something about him, the way he sings. It's different than other singers that you hear, even the ones who are very emotive and emotional. It's just a different type of music, and
Hmm.
he has his own lane to me, and it's melancholy with a big dash of hope in there, and that's where it hits me. I just and I'm a melancholy guy, right? I always have been, and there's always that, and it just there's something about it that feeds me when I listen to it, and it doesn't make me go deeper into a hole. It just
Hmm.
it makes me realize that there's someone in the hole with me,
Hmm.
you know.
We are never
Yep.
alone, that we always have the music and the fact that they are always, like you said earlier, they're always relevant. So
Hmm.
even their oldest music, you could find a perfect space for now in 2026. It's amazing how you can write lyrics that stand the test of time.
Yep.
That in itself is a whole episode, right? We could talk about
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
It's it's amazing, and not only how beautifully they are as musicians, but yet, like you said, using his voice as another instrument, and the way that he sings, the way that he can story tell, if you will, with his
Uh-huh.
voice.
Yep.
And even in some songs that he plays characters, and
Yeah.
so, and little do we know that about the songs unless we're kind of investing into that music and learning. Because Dave has often said, don't drink the water, for example, is him
Mhm.
being a villain, being the villain, telling the storytelling, the music, the feeling of hope that they give us all, and their passion for
Mhm.
spreading that word all over the world. What a great time it is to
Yeah.
be alive, and to have lived through this. And that is a lot about what this podcast is about. Is there aren't a lot of bands, or at least there hasn't been in our lives, a lot of bands that have
Mhm.
held on this long.
Yeah.
Most bands don't, right? Most bands
Right.
don't. They get a
Right.
hit and then sometimes they're gone.
Or they fade into kind of oblivion and they try and hang on, but there's nothing relevant, there's nothing new, or their
Right.
sound stays so 80s.
Yeah.
We I'm sure we all loved the Human League when they came out in 82, but how do we listen to the Human League now? Not really. So,
Never even heard of them. Is that a
well,
bad thing, Eric?
no, I'm just older than you, Renee. Lord knows I've listened to so many um interviews with Dave over the years. I couldn't tell you how many hours I've spent. I suck up anything that he's got to say and talk to with people. He's a good human being. There's a lot of really good characteristics about him, and those come through in his music. And I
Hmm.
love he can be whimsical, he can be sexual, he can be
He
downright
is.
dirty, he can be sad, he can be happy, he can be silly, he can meaningful, religious. There's just so much that can hit you, and
Mhm.
it kind of hits all the little facets of humanness, right? He is a great human being, and it's this perfect storm of his background and South
Mhm.
Africa and then America, and his family situation, and traveling around. And I mean, think about it, if he was not a good lyricist and just a good guitar player, I don't know that we'd really know who he is, because it's part of it, right? It's the lyrics and the sound are two peas in a pod. You've got to have them both. And I'm just he's just this weird flash moment that happened to hit America, and we just grabbed on as hard as we could, so many of us,
Mhm.
and enjoyed it for all these years, 35 years, like you said, that I don't know where so much of us would be without him, and
Mhm.
the friendships that we've made. And I used to, when I lived in Indianapolis, I started a monthly um, a fan get together at a really humongous bar that was there. And so I'd get 15, 20, 30 people would come every month, and
No way.
we're just Dave fans, and I just I talked about it amongst all of my the Facebook groups and friends that I'd met at Deer Creek and stuff. And so, we'd go to the Ale Emporium, and we'd go to the Ale Emporium. I'd put all the Dave songs on their jukebox, and we just sit around and shoot the shit and talk
Hmm.
and eat and drink. And it
Yes.
was just a great way to get through the non-touring months, where we didn't see each other, we didn't have that to look forward to. I
Hmm.
recommend anybody in all these towns around the country, if you're a big Dave fan and you've got a bit of a, like, where to find them, start this thing up, because that was so much fun. And I only really stopped because we moved, but it was a blast. I mean, it was, you get 10, 30 people every time just hanging out,
Wow.
talking Dave. It was great. And
That's
we did it every
amazing.
month. It was the third, I don't remember what it was, third Thursday of every month or something. And, people could bring guests, and I just think that it was a really nice add-on to the whole Dave experience for me. It
Absolutely.
was my favorite thing that I've done regarding Dave.
There is so much to the fan culture. And like we talked about earlier, the fans are incredible and in the things that they do. And that's yet again another example of just starting a little get together where you get
Hmm.
together once a month and you just have
Yeah,
someone to talk Dave with. And we all know what
yeah,
that means if we're listening,
yeah,
right? Dave
yeah.
talk. Not everyone can do it. You can't
Right.
just go to the store and talk Dave with the cashier.
Hmm.
She don't got a clue what you're
Right.
talking about, right?
She and like she's heard satellite on the radio and wasn't that impressed. She's like, I don't really get it. And you're like, I get it that you don't get it. You got to go to a show. Like when I took my daughter to the show, all of a sudden it's a whole new appreciation for it, because it takes life when it's live. Their studio songs are great, but they're not
Yes.
alive like their concerts are.
Very
And
constrained, right? Because
yeah,
albums have to be constrained with time, right? Like there's not an endless amount of time on a disc or whatever. And so they're
right.
just different. Wonderful. Love them.
Yeah.
Respect
Yep.
how you changed this album song
Mhm.
to this wild
Yep.
17-minute song that you only had
Right.
3 minutes of on the CD, but
Right.
somehow you
Isn't
turned
that
it
the
into
best?
17, right? Like,
Yes.
I love it. Wow, this is
That's my
amazing.
favorite thing. I love them now. I laugh at myself sometimes because I'm like, I want to call people when I've made my 20-minute trip and I only got one Dave song in.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I only got to listen to one song. And they're looking at me like, why would you listen to a song for 20 minutes? I'm like, you just try it. Just try it and you'll see. And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
It is a beautiful thing.
About all the different versions and all the guests they've had and the lovely ladies, and
Mm,
so they make so many different versions, let alone when they just have some freedom to be a band and kind of
yes.
do the thing in that moment. Like, I don't know how they decide, all right, we're going to do a 18-minute two-step today, or a 6-minute two. I don't know. I would love to know more about that sort of thing, but that's part of the fun of watching the shows, is you just never know.
Right.
By the way, this my most amazing the most amazing thing that I've ever seen at a Dave show. I was behind a couple guys who would announce what song was about to be played based on where the musicians were placing their fingers on their instruments.
Holy shit, that's a different level.
Yeah, that blew my mind, and they were right every single time. And it's like, yeah, look, Tim's got his fingers ready for a G chord, and so it's going to
Yo.
be, say, it's going to be little thing or something, whatever. And they were different people in the band, and he'd pick them out, and they'd say, oh no, he's getting out the tenor sax, that's going to be the Stone. And he'd know it
Right.
before one note was played. They
Wow.
Between the two of them, they identified every single song in the show. And I just sat there like, that is so beyond anything I'm capable of doing or interested in doing.
Well,
But it was fascinating to watch. Like, that to me showed how much people can really get into the show. And then, like what you were talking about with the almanac, people who are like, oh, that song hasn't been played in 16 years, and or at this location or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
I love that stuff. I mean,
Me
what other
too.
band has that?
I don't know.
That's phenomenal. Love
It
it.
really is. It really
Yeah.
is. I don't get into statistics that often, but I feel like a part of it is so much fun to know because if it has been 20 years since a song's been played,
Mm-hmm.
that's a big deal. Like to
Yeah.
me, it might not be a big deal to the next person over, but to me,
Mm-hmm.
and the things that I find are interesting about Dave Matthews Band is the fact that they can do that, right? Their catalog is so
Yeah.
big that they can just forget about a song for 20
Mm-hmm.
years. The fans don't forget
Yeah.
about it, right? Like we're
Right.
secretly admiring it every day in our ears, right?
Yeah.
But like we
Yeah.
can't get it live for 20 years, which I'm
Yeah.
just going to scream to the mountaintops speaking of about 20 years because it's been
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Crazy Easy. You know what song I'm
Oh
talking
yeah.
about? Do you
Yeah,
know the
sure.
lore of Crazy Easy?
I do not.
Like it hasn't
I do
been
not.
played and I don't have the almanac in front of me, but like it's been a very
Uh-huh.
long time. It made
Yeah.
its first appearance out in like 04, 05 tour, something like that. Never made an album. But like
Mm-hmm.
everyone, they play it on Sirius from time to time. And
Yeah.
I'm like, how long are they just gonna sneak around acting like they don't know nothing
Uh-huh.
about this song when we
May,
know?
maybe like here's my suggestion for them because I'm sure they're listening to me on your podcast is third night at the Gorge, play only the oldest songs that they
Oh
haven't played before.
shit.
People would go ape shit. I mean, they would go nuts if it was
Yes.
like a
Deep tracks only.
deep catalog, deep tracks only. Yeah. Night 3 is deep tracks at the Gorge. Can you imagine? People would
I would
go
go.
insane.
I would go.
People
You'd
would go
almost have to give a
insane.
heads up, right? But then
Yeah.
you'd never get tickets. But like I would need a heads up for that because
Right.
they would need to know.
Tell me another band that can play some of their least known hits and their fan members would go ape shit. Like I went to see Stevie
Yes.
Nicks and she played her B-sides. I was like, this is the worst show I've ever seen in my life. I don't know a single one of these songs. Like I know all of your hits. Why aren't you playing your hits? But if Dave played all his deep cuts, deep tracks, oh hell yeah, I'd be there. That would be so great.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yes. What a great
Let's throw that
scenario.
out into the
Come
universe.
on, band. If you listen to the Space Between podcast, tell
Yeah.
us you're listening by doing that.
There
First
you
play
go.
Crazy Easy, and then we'll talk about the Gorge Night 3 doing deep tracks
Yeah.
only, right?
Yep. That would be awesome.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
If you could hear anything, what would it be?
Wow.
And that's a tough one. I don't expect you to be able to list it right off, but like there's always a couple of songs that are out there, like a carrot for everybody. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever heard this. What would you like to hear?
I think I'd have to say some of my favorite ones would be if just Dave and Tim, and I would like to have a song kind of like Little Thing where he does a long intro to it.
Yeah.
Where there's some talking and storytelling in the song, and I'd want to hear a story that I don't know about a song. And then he could play just about anything, honestly. Like I want to hear more stories, and I love hearing Dave talk. So, I'd say give me Little Thing with Dave and Tim and have Dave make up a really long beginning intro story.
Yeah, just talk to us.
Because I think I've heard him say that it's not necessarily true. The whole intro of meeting the girl on the in the street and then letting her go. I can't.
So fine.
Yeah,
when he sings it.
Yeah, she wasn't tiny. She wasn't little, but she wasn't young, but she was tiny. That's what he said. There's something about the way he says it and the way he tells that story. That song hits me with the melancholy big as life because it's like it's a regret. It's something that it was a moment that he'll remember forever.
Yeah.
Can't find her. We'll never find her. We'll never see her again. We'll never have that moment. But the optimism, the hope from him is it made this moment that he will remember forever. And that to me is beautiful. And that's that sums up a lot for me of why I like their music is, he created a moment for me. And I wasn't even in New York City meeting this little girl, this young woman. So I want to hear more stories from Dave and then I want when he and Dave do it, I think he puts a little bit more little more pressure on himself to sing it perfectly, like in
Hmm.
terms of enunciating and making sure that, because it's just him. There's no, not the whole rest of the band jamming with all 12 of their instruments. So
Yes.
I like his voice. I love his voice, and I love the two of them together. So I was lucky enough to see them in concert in West Lafayette up at Purdue. In fact, one of the songs, and I'm blanking on which one it was, but that made an album of theirs, the one that they recorded live at a show I was at.
Oh wow, you'll
So
have to send it to me.
yeah, it was. Now I'll think about it,
You'll
but
find it. Yeah.
yeah, and it was. I was like, that was a moment. Like that concert was a dream for me to see the two of them, and I cannot tell you how much I've worn out. I know that I wore out the Luther College CDs. I've had to rebuy them. I know. Um, but all of them, Radio City Music Hall, everything. I
Mm.
love those. Those are the album. Here's a weird thing. Those are the albums I play on my phone when I go to the dentist, and I have a lot
What?
of dental anxiety. I play Dave and Tim. Dave and Tim go in my ears when I walk into a
Okay.
dentist's office, and I
Calms you
do
down.
not. It calms me right down. I can focus on the music, and I'm good to go. And I don't know what I would do if I didn't have Dave and Tim to call me in a dentist's office. Like it's
Look at
I don't
that
know what
free
that's saying
medicine.
about me,
Look at
but
that free
yeah, yeah,
medicine. Yes.
exactly. Thanks, Dave. Free laughing gas from Dave
Yeah.
Matthews.
Just put him in your ears and relax.
Yep, that's what it
It'll
does.
happen. Yeah. So, question. If you could be given a set list before a show, would you
Mm,
look at it?
wow, that's a good question.
No, why? I'm just curious. No
Because I'm,
wrong answers, but
I mean, I'm gonna hear it anyway. I'm there.
yes.
I'm at the show. I'm gonna hear all the songs. There's a definite moment when it's a song you really love and they start to play it and you know it from the first couple notes. And you're like,
Mm,
oh, yes, they're playing it.
yes.
Like that's a pretty great moment. And if I knew the set list ahead of time, I'd be looking forward to it and I'd be wanting to, maybe speed through some of the other songs or whatever. I'm like, I really want to hear, whatever.
Yes, yes.
And I've got to sit and listen through all these other songs. And so no, I'd want to have it be fresh and new.
I really
Um,
agree. That's my answer too
yeah.
every time. There's something about because that's how we're how we're raised as Dave children, right? Like that's all
Uh-huh.
we know is like you don't
Yeah.
know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I've gotten used to that.
Yep. And I want to hear how they changed the song, and I want to hear everything about it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I would definitely not want to now that I think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, no,
Good
no.
question though.
Yeah, I mean, I think about things like that because we know that the set list is made. Now, not
Yeah.
always do they stick to that. We know that based
Right.
on like the million times that they've put the set list out and it was changed for some reason or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But I think most people would probably choose not to just to have that mystery and that satisfaction
I
of
think
being
so.
surprised
Yeah.
because what a great fun surprise,
Yeah.
especially when they do nail that song that you've been
Yep.
chasing or that you really love. I mean, it's just
Mm-hmm.
that initial feeling like you said
Yeah.
is really incredible. And man, as adults, we need those moments of just like, oh,
Absolutely.
yay, because they come further and further apart, right? As we
Yeah.
seems like sometimes
Yeah. That's a
in our
that's a
lives
moment.
yeah, that's a moment, and it
Mm-hmm.
literally can make you feel joy in that moment. And I love surprise joy. Like
Yeah.
there's beautiful joy, but then surprise
Yeah.
joy, that's even better.
Yeah. No, 100%. That is my definitive answer, and I would even go so
Yes.
far as to say that 95% of all other Dave fans would feel the same way about that. I'm
Yeah.
as I think about it, I think that's part of the joy. And when we hear, when you hear the huge yell and round of applause at the beginning, the ooh,
Mhm.
when there's a song that they maybe haven't played for a long time or something, but the excitement in the crowd is a
Yes.
beautiful thing. So
It is. It's so fun to people watch at shows, and I always like to preface that with like, I'm not a weirdo. I'm not just watching people
yeah,
like for the hell of it. I like to watch the reactions of people having whatever emotion, whether that's sadness or
Yeah.
happiness or like whatever it is it's emotional for me to get to see other people emotional, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
good to see people feel things
Mm-hmm.
through music and get through things with music.
Yeah.
So I think it's part of the whole experience for me. So
Yep.
one last question, because I think that this
Sure.
one is so important, and I do like to ask this every show. I know we started your show a little different than I normally do, just because your episode is coming out at such a fun time. You know, the day
Yep.
before the second show of the tour
Right.
season. I was
First
thinking
show,
that in
second show,
before
whatever. Yeah.
the second show. Well, hey,
Uh-huh.
whatever. Tell us the moments that led up to you deciding you were going to go see Dave, because I do like to remind everyone that listens to this to
Yeah.
be a fan of Dave Matthews Band. You do not have to have gone to a show. I'd love for you to listen to the live music, but you never
Mm-hmm.
have to go
Right.
physically with all of the things we
That's
have now.
true.
You never have to physically go. So what was it that queued you up that was like, okay, I think I need to go see them?
Um, for me, it was when I started falling in love with the concert tapes that I
Mm-hmm.
was being sent, more than the studio. When I started to like the concert songs better than the studio songs, that to me that was my signal of you need to start going to shows. And I've only been to probably, I don't know, 15, 16 shows,
It's a
but
lot.
I mean, yeah, not compared to a lot of people, but you
Well,
know,
I mean,
yeah,
15 or
no, I mean,
16 of one band is a lot.
it's pretty good, yeah, and I love it, and I can tell you things probably about most of them, but um, I brought my oldest daughter to the Dave show at Deer Creek probably, gosh, 15, 20 years ago now, something like that,
Uh-huh.
15 years ago, and that was just what a moment. And then because she was kind of a Dave fan already,
Awesome.
and yeah, so it was just she and I, and we had good seats and pavilion seats in Deer Creek, and um, I wasn't. I mostly am a lawn guy for Dave
Mm-hmm.
shows, but with her, she was young. She was probably, I don't know, 15, 16, 17, something like that,
Yeah.
and so I didn't want her to have to deal with the potential crush, but you could still people watch and see everything, and um, taking her to that was really special and cool, and then taking my other daughter to the tribute band one was fabulous, and um, you know, I I'm a big. I don't see how you could go to a Dave show and not become a fan. I really don't. Like, I don't care
Yeah.
who you are. You could be a metalhead. You can be a country singer, whatever. I think you're going to find things that you like. You may not think it's the best band you've ever seen,
Right.
and may
Right.
not become a huge Dave Matthews fan like we are, but I can't see how you're not appreciative of the musicianship
Right.
and the energy and the love in the audience, the crowds that are hugging and high-fiving and singing and just passing freebies out, and people
Mm-hmm.
bringing their wristbands to just give away, and they're just, everyone is so nice in this group.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, they're so sweet and they're so kind, and who wouldn't want their who wouldn't want to be exposed to that, and let their family and friends see that? And I love spreading the word of DMB and trying to get converts, and that makes me really happy. Yeah,
Yes, we
I've
joke
made
about that all the
I,
time and
I've
going
made
around saying, have you heard the good news of the Dave Matthews
yeah,
Band?
I've gone so far as to, I've made long emails of my favorite lyrics to people that I think are going to respond to more lyrics than the music at first, so they
Uh-huh.
can see that there's some depth in his writing. Because I
Smart.
think he's a brilliant lyricist. I
He's
think
like he could
he's
have been a writer if he.
phenomenal.
I mean, he is a writer. Like
Absolutely,
he's
yes,
doing so many jobs up there.
right. So I've tried to sneak in on a lot of people the lyrics, thinking that they'll be like, "Wow, this is pretty. This is deep. This isn't just Dave, bebopping up on the stage,
Right. Right.
singing
Right.
about licking someone's belly button. So it's like,
That was a good one. We
I
actually
mean,
heard
thank
that
you.
one last night. Shake
Yeah,
me like a
see?
monkey.
Uh-huh. Rather be licking you from your back to your belly. you got to sneak some lyrics in on people, and
Hmm.
but once you get them to a show, I can't see that anybody isn't gonna at least enjoy themselves, if not really
Yeah,
love it and become a convert. So
right. Absolutely.
we all keep throwing our friends in there and hoping that we get a little extra something, because there's nothing better than convincing someone to become a Dave
Oh
fan,
my gosh, I
and then you get
know.
to watch their journey
I
of
know.
falling in love and listening, and you get to recommend songs to them, and they're like, "Oh my god, this was amazing!"
I feel like that's so fun.
It is so fun. I absolutely love it, and playing them songs that are covers, all along the Watchtowers. What is probably my favorite Dave cover song, because it just builds. It's just,
Hmm.
it starts here and then it goes through the song, and by the end it is just in full throat and it is going
Yes.
and the band is
Yes.
jamming, and it's beautiful. It's
It
just a
is
wonderful thing.
beautiful.
And trying to get people to say, it's not, you go to a Dave show and you're not just going to hear Dave songs. You're going to hear some Zeppelin. You're going to hear,
Hmm.
you know, I don't know if he's ever done Heart or something. I don't know, but you're going to get a whole bunch of other music
Yeah.
too for you to taste and like. So
Something will sound familiar.
yeah,
Something will.
but the feel, the vibe of all the people is the best thing there.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. We get two things as fans. We get, of course, the band. That's what got us here,
Yep.
right? Like, and we love
Right.
it. But we also, for those of us that want to partake, have this
Yep.
community of great fans that really love to talk about the music that they love the most. And
Yeah.
I love that you can just find another Dave person and I talk to you for 2 hours,
Yeah.
just I don't know, have to know anything
Absolutely.
about you, but if you can talk
Yep.
Dave, oh, I'm
Yep.
ready to talk to you.
And if you'll listen to me, hell yeah, I'm gonna go
Yes.
off. I'm gonna make you listen to songs. I'm gonna tell you lyrics. I'm gonna do the whole ball of wax. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things.
It's so last night at the show, my son was there, and this was his second Dave Matthews Band show. He's
Nice.
21. He's only seen Dave at festivals. So the first show I took him to was at Jazz Fest last year in New Orleans. And then this
Okay.
year, of course, it was at Riverfest in Memphis for him to see, which we got a great Dave show. But
Mm-hmm.
he brought his girlfriend, which we love. She's part of our family. And she had never been to a Dave show before, doesn't
Oh,
really
great.
know anything about the music. And so he said, can you explain like what kind
Oh
of
my
band?
God, what a
Tell me
gift.
about Dave Matthews Band. And I was
Huh?
like,
How much
never
time you
know.
got? Yeah.
Nobody ever asked me that, like ever, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so by the time I got done, and I feel like I did a really good job. Like I wish I
Of
should have been, I
course.
wish I could have been recording it. He actually looked at me, and you know how rare this is as a parent. He looked at me and went,
Uh-huh.
"That was a really good job, Mom." I was like, dude, I've been
Yeah.
studying for
He's
years.
like, I've been prepping for this just for your girlfriend right here.
I am
That's
ready.
awesome. That's really great.
Those moments where you get to share it, and they receive it well are really awesome. And
Uh-huh.
I've got to ask her, like, what did you think about last night? But I'm giving her
Yeah.
time to process it first,
Yeah.
right? Because
Well,
there's
and
a
that'll
lot
be
of
the
shit
thing,
that flew
right?
at
Yeah.
her.
Will she want to listen again? Will she want to, have you make some song recommendations based on, I really liked this song, I really like that song. You're like, okay, cool. I'm getting a
Right.
handle on what you like. So, maybe now try this song, and maybe
Yeah.
try, this song, and give them a right version, that's
Right.
more of an upbeat version or more of a melancholy version or
Yeah.
whatever.
It's like, what's your
Yeah,
mood?
that's a you
It's
gotta
so
you got
awesome.
given a gift.
I know.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
don't ask me, because you need 3 or 4 minutes for me to get through my little
yeah,
just pre-speech about the
absolutely.
bands.
About why they're so great and why I love them.
I know. I mean, you got to do that. But Eric, I
Yeah,
can't thank you enough for reaching out. I think it's so cool that I meet people all over the place. I was in
yeah,
Florida with Dave Matthews Tribute Band. Again, I work for them, work with them, love them.
yep.
And we just happened to meet up where they were playing, and I met your daughter. We got to talk about tattoos.
You saw
And
my
now
tattoos,
I
right?
did. Yes, I
My whole
did.
sleeve of Dave here. I don't know if
Well,
we
yeah, we
can
can't not talk about that. So if you're watching
can't
this
not.
on YouTube right now, this is the time
Yeah.
to look,
So I've
because his
got a
tattoos are fascinating.
Dave. Yeah, I've got the Dave Dancer art stuff, and it's a whole dreaming tree I've got all my kids' initials, all 6 of my kids' initials up in the tree branches. Got the Dancing Dave down here. I've got the Kindness is Your King, which is, one of my favorite lyrics and lent itself well to a tattoo, I thought. And the corner of Gray Street, and, I've got the coffee rings and, the coloring, and I just love it. And
it's beautiful.
So
do you get asked a lot about like who the guy is on your arm that's dancing?
Yeah, they wonder if it's me playing the guitar, and I'm like, no. I'm like, no. But I love, it's got his feet kind of duck walking, how he does his little dance, and the artist captured that, his feet turned inward, his toes turned inward and his heels outward. And to me, when I watch Dave dance like that, that is so joyous. That is so, he is just living his life and having a great time, and I love that when he does his happy dance. And so I loved that I found the art that matched that and that I could put it on my body. And I was one of those guys that I didn't want tattoos for the longest time because I'm like, this shit's on here forever. I'm not gonna, how do I know what I'm gonna like in 5-10 years? But really easily I'm like, I'm always gonna love Dave. Like there will never be a moment that's the music I want. If I'm laying in my deathbed, that's, all my happy moments. I want, Dave on, Dave is it for me. And I listen to plenty of other music too. I'm not a exclusive Dave guy, but 80% of what I listen to is Dave, and it just means more to me than any other music.
Yeah. That's incredible. Well, I love the fact that we met and now here you are. You're on the show, and a big one. This is the week, man. This is the week.
I'm so excited.
You're episode 207. You're the 207th episode of
kudos to you
podcast.
For doing this many. That's amazing.
Well, this is everybody else, right? That's what I keep telling people. I'm like, this show is not about me. This show is about every single one of you. And it can't happen unless you come forward to share your journey. So if you're listening to this, if you're watching this right now, man, let's make sure that this fan history is documented. And This is what we are doing here, is just making sure that when time goes by, that we are also not forgotten, because it's a big part of the story of Dave Matthews Band and how they've survived 35 years, not only because they're like masters in their trade, but also because they were loved so much by a lot of dedicated fans. And that's what this podcast is about. So if you're interested, your story doesn't have to be any certain way. You don't have to have ever been to a show. You just have to have a love for this music. And I invite you to come on, send me an email. The email's popping up right now if you are watching YouTube. If you're listening to this, everything's in the show notes. And if you don't know what show notes are, you just simply go to the description of the episode, and all the show notes are there. So you will see my email. Just send me an email. Say, hey, man, I want to be on the show. You don't even have to tell me your story. I don't want you to, which sounds weird, but you'll understand when you're on the show. Eric, did I listen to your story before, or was this all a surprise?
No, this was all a surprise to you, yes. And here's Lexi, the one that introduced you to me.
Hey Lexi, you're on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, great. I didn't
Say
know
hi to all the Dave fans. Yeah, no.
Hi, Dave fans. I'm the one that he brought to the...
I was too nervous to seek you out on my own, and so I was telling her about you, and she said, oh, I'll find her, and she just pulls up social media, and within 3 minutes had found you in the crowd somehow. And I'm like,
No, he was like, her name's Renae. And I was like, okay, what's her handle? And I found it, and I started like scanning the crowd, and then immediately it was like, right there.
No way.
He goes, no, you didn't. I said, yeah, that's her, right? And like, we saw your glasses. And he was like, no way. And I was like, I'm telling you. I was like, that's her. And then you walked out from your little area, and he was like, oh my God, that is her. I was like, are you gonna show her your tattoos?
And I'm like, no. Only because she made me. Yeah.
Well, I love it. I'm glad that you did it.
Bring your kids, everybody.
Yeah, bring your kids. I mean, how did you feel about the DMTV show? I heard that this was like your first time to hear Dave Music Live. How did you feel about it?
I loved it. He has always like pushed it and pushed it and pushed it because obviously he loves it. Like he was just saying, it's tattooed on his body. So like as kids, like when you're like, oh, Dad, like turn this off. We listen to this all the time. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I guess I'll go with you. Like, we'll have fun. It'll be like a dad-daughter, like, hangout, whatever. I mentioned to you that I have a baby, so I was like, sure, let's go out. Like, let's go do something. And then I was sitting there and I was like, wait a minute, this is actually kind of cool.
You
like,
actually had fun.
This.
Daddy was right all these years.
That's right.
Right. Well, and now he plays it for my 8-month-old. So like when it's time for the baby to go to sleep, he wants to like listen to something or listen to music. So it's typically been Dave Matthews or the Beatles. So we're raising him right.
We're trying.
Oh gosh, that is incredible.
Trying to get him early.
That's incredible. Well,
it's so good to see you again.
Yeah, so good to see you. I'm so glad that you popped in. Now we've got 2 guests on. Guys, I'm so glad that I got to meet you. I hope that you will stop in to see Dave Matthews Tribute Band again in Florida, which is coming up here in a few weeks, because I will be back in Florida.
Cool.
Yeah. A pop in Florida. Yeah, so guys, if you're not following Dave Matthews Tribute Band, of course, that's the band I work with. And what I love about them is they are teaching, they are reminding, they are taking you back to what the original sounds was of the Dave Matthews Band, which is not something you're going to hear now if you go to a show. And I think it's such a great way to take our kids. And if you want to teach them from the beginning to now, what a great way to take them to a tribute band show and go, okay, this is what it sounded like in the beginning. And now let me show you what that turned into. So I've been taking my daughter, you've been taking your daughter, and it's been a really cool way to kind of lay that foundation, if you will, of Dave Matthews Band on their table.
By the way, don't you think, you had mentioned at some point the real Dave Matthews Band is going to be no more. But don't you think there will be tribute bands that will go on long after they've stopped playing? I think so. Like, I think the music is timeless in the emotion. And then when you introduce and you see the younger people coming in and they, getting into it and they're digging it, like, why won't they do it with the tribute band? I think they will too. They
of course.
May not have the same charisma as Dave Matthews, but who amongst us does? So
and I mean, a tribute band is never, well, at least I can only speak for DMTV. They're not trying to emulate. They're just trying to share the beginning music of Dave Matthews Band. That's all they're trying to do. They're not trying to sound like
and they did a great job.
They are really good. I'm very fond of them.
They were really good. I was very impressed with how good they were.
If you guys are headed to the Houston show this week, be sure to scan the crowd. See if you can find me like Lexi does. I always have some silly glasses on, so I'm not that hard to find. Find me. I'll have some swag to give you, and I'd love to sign you up to be on this show. Eric, thank you so much for your time today and for making sure that at least your part of the story is documented. If we continue to go on for 5 more years, I invite you back to add to your story so that we can make sure it's documented all the way. But guys,
I'll show you my grandson with a new tattoo at 5 years old. How about that?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. If you're just listening to this on a podcast app, just know that you can watch this, and that way you can see Eric's tattoos and see Lexi as she popped in on my YouTube channel. Do all the things that your kids tell you to do when you go to YouTube. You got to like and subscribe, all those things that all the YouTube channel, that lets me know, hey, somebody is watching this. And then again, it pushes it out to other people who may have an interest in Dave Matthews Band. And those are the people I'm targeting, is the people that love this music, the people that are fans. This is the podcast for you to share your story. So you never know who's next on the show. But Eric, thank you so much for your time on this episode.
Thanks, Renae. Appreciate it. Take care.
Until the next time, guys, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band. We'll see you soon.